Happy Halloween. I'm Jim Check with Now Media. With me, Iain Burns, and we're here on Friday, October 31st. And first of all, drive safe out there tonight and watch out for those little munchkins and, you know, try not to be very careful out there. And don't drink and drive tonight because Friday, Halloween, that's like the Halloween on steroids, right? Like everybody wants Halloween night to be on Friday, so they can dress up. We dressed up as actually Canadian journalists. We're trying to... headlines for today, though, the big one. Carney gets a whole lot of nothing. Canadian economy is getting scary. Carney signs guest books. Trump signs deals. More tariffs on Canada. This time it's India. Youth speaking up. Fancy finagling will not make this budget more palatable. A case for oil. Climate change religion dying in the world, but Canada wants to lead its revival. And Canada leads in AI. All that and a whole lot more. We even have like some of the scary Halloween stuff. We got Kamala Harris there. I don't know what she's trying to play. I think she's trying to pretend she's the president. Dressing up for Halloween as the president. But we got her at the end there, so stick around for that. But we got our first graphic here. The Canadian economy, it's scary. That's the Halloween treat for you. The Canadian economy. Not good. Not good. Because here we go. In the our GDP contracted by 0.3% in August. And that was driven by a 0.6% drop in the goods producing sector and a 0.1% decline in services. And that's the first such decline in 6 months. August figures offset the growth delivered in July. And there you can kind of see our 5 of the last 6 months. Not good.
It's very ugly, isn't it? It's not a very nice little bar chart.
But we're going to have a Halloween theme today. So Mr. Dress Up says that it's going to be the strongest economy in the G7. Got to change these graphs then. Like somebody's got to fix these graphs. Right? What do you think?
But the IMF has also said that's not going to happen. But I guess if it happens in 1 quarter of Mark Carney's time as Prime Minister, then that's when we'll hear mission accomplished. We'll build an aircraft carrier just so we can hang a mission accomplished banner like George Bush.
Well, I mean, how long has he been in? 7 months now? 5 red bars?
Yeah, well, it's the usual, isn't it? And I think this probably explains why he's been attacking his predecessor a lot more frequently. He's put a video on on YouTube, like a 2-minute video. It's just a piece to camera, him there on his desk. And one of the features of that video is a bar chart which shows public spending, I think as a percentage of GDP or something like that. And he highlights the Trudeau years, basically says, this has got out of hand. So increasingly, he's just going to blame Trudeau, I guess, where Trudeau just blames Stephen Harper.
Wasn't he the economic advisor for Trudeau? Because Trudeau said, he
Water under the bridge.
He blatantly said that he doesn't worry about the economy. Somebody else must have been worrying about it. But Mark Carney was the economic advisor for Trudeau. I think it was for 4 years. How long was he the advisor? And he also made the advice.
Well, he had 2 different roles, didn't he? And the big boy role was 2 years, I think. But there was a separate role before that, which extended. It was about half of his time as Prime Minister, yeah.
I think that one of those roles was how to get government contracts, because there was a lot of them. Anyway, Mark Carney there met with President Xi. I mean, it's the first such meeting between heads of state with China and the Canada in 8 years. Imagine that, 8 years. Trudeau just would be sanctimonious on China all the time. But so here's a little bit of them. We'll play this little clip here.
This meeting today is long overdue. It has been 8 years since a Canadian Prime Minister has met with the President of China. We now have a turning point in the relationship, a turning point that creates opportunities for Canadian families, for Canadian businesses, and Canadian workers, and also creates a path to address current issues. So very pleased with the outcome of the meeting. our officials are instructed to work at pace on issues.
No deal. Exactly.
No deal.
Nothing of any, nothing material. But also, did you hear another knife went into Justin Trudeau's battered corpse lying in the corner there?
Yeah.
Mark Carney's like, where he said a prime minister over the last 8 years. There's only been one prime minister other than you over those years.
Well, there's been a pretend prime minister, drama teacher. He dressed up as a prime minister, so it's our Halloween theme. And
what's he dressing up as now then? An astronaut's husband.
Hey, that's a good one. See, comedy today. This is going to be the comedy channel. But Carney at the APEC says that he said he's going to make some announcements at the G7 on critical minerals. Let's listen to this clip here.
Supply chain, we're amongst the top 5 producers of 10 critical minerals essential for the energy transition, amongst other applications. So we're fast-tracking new mines and producing to meet demands. We just made announcements. Well, I'll get my time zone right. I'm going to front-run my Minister of Natural Resources now. We're about to make announcements in Toronto at the G7 Plus Energy Summit, Critical Minerals Summit, of over 20 new investments, deals in critical minerals, totaling almost $2 billion of support, and that's just the start.
I mean, we're still waiting for that announcement, but fast-tracking mines, I've yet to see that. That remains to be seen.
Also, it's like money being handed out. It's not like money being brought here. It's money being handed out. It's like incentives.
But, you know, lots of handshakes, and we got a little graphic here. Lots of handshakes, which is, I guess, better than nothing. Lots of guest books. No deals. No deals.
Well,
they
would point to the South Korea thing, but that wasn't really a deal. That was just a glorified handshake, really, wasn't it? It was like, we're going to work closely on this, that, and the other. But it's that's not the same thing as a solid deal, is it?
Well, here's this one here, this handshake here with Thailand. We're launching free trade negotiations. You got 7 months. Why weren't these all launched? Why are we launching? Like, why haven't they been launched? Like, did we wait 7 months to launch? Like, you picked a fight with the Americans, stuck sticks in their eyes, and now you're just launching free trade? And Thailand, what does Thailand mean to Canada? That's our Lululemon. I think they manufacture some of our leggings in that. What are we going to get?
It is a curious one. I mean, Thailand, I believe they came out with a statistic that Thailand was the number 2 trade partner for Canada within the ASEAN, sort of Southeast Asian countries. Sort of would make sense. It's quite a sort of large country, fairly developed economy. But it is interesting because it almost gives the impression that they just decided to do it now. It's like, oh, Thailand, yeah, let's get a free trade deal. It's like, okay, could you not have done that earlier? But I don't know. I mean, to be fair, and in defense of Carney, not that he needs me to defend him, he's got so many defenders out there, but a lot of international relations does come down to face-to-face chats, doesn't it? We hear about this all the time in memoirs and things like that as well. So it's plausible that they needed that face-to-face.
Again, traveling in the wake of Trump, though, because Trump was there and also signed a peace deal with Thailand and Cambodia. And I think one of them nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yep. And Japan did, I think, as well. Did South Korea also? Like, everyone's doing it these days. So it's the latest thing.
If he doesn't get it next year, it would be just like, what do you have to do to get it? Because, I mean, like, almost every country has nominated him for the Peace Prize. Even President Xi said he's bringing peace to the world. But President Xi also mentioned that China has also worked hand in hand and bring peace. But yeah, here he is with the Republic of Korea. And Trump was there as well, signed a deal for LNG, our deal. The deal we turned down. This one's tough to swallow. This is a tough pill to swallow. This one is just absolutely tough. They begged us.
It's especially hard when Carney's gone on about LNG now every day. There's not a day he doesn't talk about it. It's like the centerpiece of his economic plan, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
And that makes it all the more painful that he was a senior advisor, the advisor, the ultimate economic advisor to Justin Trudeau, and Justin Trudeau turned all this down. It's quite a tangled web, isn't it? It's quite hard to figure out.
What was Justin Trudeau's reasoning for turning it down? Again,
no business case.
No business case.
I mean, and what's crazy is they're almost trying to imply now, they're not saying it explicitly, but they're almost trying to imply like, oh no, there is a business case now, because the transition is going to last longer. The energy transition is going to last longer than we previously anticipated. That is so funny, because the business case a couple of years ago was obviously
they were desperate for it. They were
stronger.
Desperate for it.
Exactly, because it was the energy crisis, the global energy crisis. Everybody was trying to get away from Russia and the disturbances that Russia caused in the gas market, and find reliable sources of energy. Canada was top of the list. I mean, the business case was so obvious, but obviously the argument really, it wasn't as obvious as like people want, they still pay money for it. I think what he meant by that with the business case comment was, oh, everybody's going to be using green tech in 10 years or 15 years. So there's no point building this infrastructure because it's just going to be derelict, which, you know, you can pretend that the attitudes have changed towards that kind of language in the last couple of years. But a couple of years ago, people were saying that we're going to be using oil and LNG still for 100 years or something like that. I mean, it's just... It's baffling that was ever put forward as his rationale.
Here's an analogy for you. So Trump is in there first, met with all these leaders first. It's, you know, almost every one of them he met first. And let's just say that Trump showed up, ate at the buffet table, got deals signed. Carney showed up, and they said, "Oh, what is there any deals for us?" And so sorry, they were just in. They ate your lunch. They literally ate our lunch. Do you know what I mean? They ate our lunch, and then. Anita Anand, I don't know if she went with him, and said, well, we have wind to sell, and Americans aren't trying to sell you wind. We have wind, remember? Anita Anand said that Canada is selling wind.
And hydrogen.
And I believe then Bob and Doug McKenzie were there and said, take off, eh? Unbelievable.
Well, it's funny with Trump, you say he met them first. Yeah, he met them first, and he also left. He barged in, got like literally got the red carpet treatment, was literally given a crown. Did all these deals.
Given a crown, yeah, he was given a crown.
And then buggered off, while Carney was like, hi guys, do you have any time for a little selfie?
And the Japanese told him they don't even have time for him. At least he got to shake some hands over there, but in Japan they said, yeah, no, we don't have time. Imagine that.
He is going to meet the Japanese PM though, I think today, but yeah, take a while.
Here you go. Scott Bessett said that Trump signed almost, I mean, according to Bessett, signed $2 trillion on his Asia trip. Carney, score, 0.
I mean, I would take that with a pinch of salt. All these numbers are definitely, bring the salt with you whenever you hear these numbers. But I think it's undeniable, nonetheless, that
well, you don't
whatever
think that
they've managed to succeed, whatever they've banked, it's considerably higher than what we've banked.
Well, you don't think if the Liberals even had a sniff of a deal, they wouldn't be trumpeting it and exaggerating it?
Oh,
they
of
just
course.
They don't even have anything to exaggerate. Nothing. 0. Zilch. Nada. Nothing.
Indeed. Although there is, I know I sound like a stooge, a liberal stooge here, but there is at least some positive language coming from the Koreans. And coming from some of the countries in that neighborhood. Obviously, it's quite positive, the language at least, out of China. But the problem is, positive language doesn't pay the bills, really, does it?
Doesn't help the canola farmers. It doesn't help the canola farmers. And here's a food professor. He's, we follow him on X there. He's interviewed lots and he talks a lot. But he said, Trump meets with Chinese president, deal gets made, Carney meets. I thought for sure, I mean, this is one I had hopes for. I really thought they were going to get a deal. I thought he was going to kill the EV mandates, kill the EV tariffs and get the canola tariffs lifted, but that didn't even happen. I just, wow. And I think he used a similar analogy, different table, same menu. Canada's still waiting for the waiter. Well, I would just say the buffet is empty when we got there. and said, the Americans are here already. They ate your lunch. The lunch you could have had
but
2
you have to
years
bear in
ago.
mind-
You could have had that lunch 2 years ago.
Yeah, and could also have had a much better relationship with China years ago. I mean, all the bad relations, talk about 8 years and all that. That all goes back to the Meng Wanzhou, the what's the name of the company she worked for? Huawei, wasn't it? The woman who worked for Huawei,
yeah.
and we arrested her on behalf of the Americans. And that's very important context, because the Chinese just look at Canada really as just a kind of very much a sideshow, and a country that can be used to disrupt the Americans, or to in some way discombobulate the Americans. And that's what it's all about. So I think Canada-China relations are completely contingent upon US-China relations. So whatever is going on with the Americans has a downstream effect on us. And presumably the Chinese have decided that it's good to keep Canada at arm's length right now, because that helps them in their struggle with the United States.
Let's even put some more salt in the wound there, because Mark Carney said the relations were tense, I guess. 8 years, no meeting between President Xi and the Prime Minister of Canada in 8 years. But we still managed to give them $109 million. Remember that a few days ago? $109 million for climate change, gender equality, and human rights violations. We gave them $109 million. President Xi must be just laughing his head off. He was just like, are you here to bring us more money, or why are you here? Because we used up
$1 billion for the ferries.
Oh, right, and he just delivered us, $1 billion for the ferries. And then he's probably says to Mark Carney there, who got a loan from the CCP for Brookfield, you're late on your payments. I don't know. Again, it's a Halloween theme today. But Scott Moe, instead of us getting deals, we got more tariffs, this time from India. Very concerned to hear about new tariffs imposed on yellow peas by India today. Our agriculture is just getting slapped around. Trump got a deal with China on soybeans, and we got more tariffs. India just joined China in slapping a tariff on Canadian yellow peas at 30% rather than 100%. India said the level would be put on all imported yellow peas as of November 1, prompting Saskatchewan Agriculture Minister to call on Ottawa to negotiate with India to obtain a reprieve. What's going on? Do we have the worst trade negotiators in the world? What is literally going on?
This is this is like a blanket trade that the Indians have put on. They're known for this. We've talked about this loads of times. India's protectionism. It's almost like
it's the toughest market.
The most important thing.
Market, yeah.
It's like the most important thing about India, basically, from a global trade perspective. Anyway, they play their own game, and it's particularly sensitive agriculture. I mean, I don't know if you can remember all those protests. The farmers, there was almost like an uprising among farmers in India. The agricultural sector in India is enormously powerful.
And
I mean, it can decide leaders. It can bring governments down and things like that. So it's basically an attempt to protect the farmers. But this idea that we can get a special exemption, that's I think that's dreaming. I don't see why. Canada's one of the main suppliers of yellow peas. If they want to protect yellow peas, they got to keep Canadian imports out of the country. So I don't know why they would give Canada special treatment there.
And it's another nation that Justin Trudeau left a wake of destruction behind him with India. They're the foreign relations with India, not in great shape.
Somebody here says, why not run an ad in India? It's funny that, I mean, it's quite, some people might say that's quite a cheap thing to say, but it's funny, and I'm here for that, to listen to those, because there is this special, almost pathetic pleading that Canadian leaders adopt when they speak to America, almost as if it's like they're almost like daddy, like, come on, dad. Give me that money, Dad. Whereas with India, it's like, oh, well, that's the way the world works.
I think that one of the biggest mistakes that Canadian trade negotiations are done with the media and riling up the base, because that doesn't help any of these negotiations. It just, And it just fires up people to think that, it's like, people are all sanctimonious and stuff like that. We need a deal. Our economy is like almost like a train wreck. But hey, here's Mark Miller, the famous Mark Miller that accused everybody of racism. Ottawa's cutting immigration and has eased pressure on housing and labor. Man, if you had said that to Mark Miller like a year ago, he called you a racist if you would have said immigration has affected housing.
He did it a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? I can't remember who he said was a racist then, but he likes to bring that out from time to time.
That's their best thing. But an updated immigration levels plan due to be tabled in Parliament today. It's going to be delayed until Budget Day. Imagine that. And that's from the Immigration Minister now. The Lina Diab yesterday told MPs, and it's the first plan to be tabled since the Prime Minister said the system was broken. But if you dared say the system was broken under, Trudeau, Mark Miller would have called you a racist.
And he still will. He'll just call you racist for something else.
Yeah. And Trudeau even at the end said the system was broken, but the last levels plan proposed to cut quotas on land and immigrants from 471,395 this year. It excluded foreign students and migrant workers and workers in Canada on temporary permits. I mean, they just messed with the numbers. On January 1st, 2025, Canada's non-permanent resident population, ready for this, approximately over 3.049 million. And that's in a briefing note. And Carney said on April 16, television election debate said the immigration system is broken. It's not working. Our population has gone up by 3% per year because of immigration. That's why we need a cap. Again, this immigration policy benefits the few and at the expense of the many. People paid with it with less access to healthcare, rising rents, inflation, and access to schools. Schools are filled up with people, so that, the foreign students took spots that Canadian kids couldn't get at.
At universities, yeah. I'm not so sure about, elementary schools and stuff. I haven't really heard anything about that, but maybe. I would assume pressure was also put on there. But it was just terrible planning, really, wasn't it? And it's a lot of people aren't convinced that this is going to fix it either. Bring down quite a modest reduction in immigration, really.
It's not really a reduction.
For temporary workers.
And it's playing with numbers. It's moving people into other categories, right? Just like, we're bringing down this category.
There's that. Yeah, there is that, yeah. But the big one, the headline was, I'll bring the permanent residents, quota down. But that was from, so the latest data, the latest numbers, 470,000 to 395,000. It's like, okay. But then the big one that they were really proud of was temporary workers will no longer be 7% of the Canadian population, but instead 5%. I believe that was their prediction. It's tinkering around the edges, isn't it? Especially when you see that, there are other ways to get into Canada than just temporary worker visa and permanent residency. There is also asylum. And we saw yesterday, didn't we, the Americans confirming that they're only going to let in 7,500 refugees. Is it this year or next year? But I think it's next year. 7,500, which is like a gigantic, it's like a 95% reduction or something. A lot of those refugees, we have to assume, are going to try and come to Canada. And we know in the past the Liberals have had a hard time trying to say no to such people.
Well, the Liberals in their budget speeches or their pre-budget speeches have been trying to tell Canadians that the youth are going to have to make sacrifices. But I guess there's a young Newfoundlander who's woke up here, and he's got something to say to Canada. He's running as an MP here. Let's listen to what he has to say, this Newfoundlander.
Years ago, I was in a room very similar to this in a small town of Newfoundland called Clarenville. And Pierre Poilievre came to my riding, and I said, that's the kind of leadership we need. I'm sick and tired of this Liberal government sacrificing my future. I was 24 years old, and I decided that I wanted to run. People said I was too young, or that I'd be better off waiting. But older people would tell us we are the future. Oh, you're the future. I'm here today to tell you guys, to tell all of us, we're not only the future, we're today. The young men and women that went overseas, that fought for this country, the young tech brains that have molded our whole country, our whole world has been founded on the vision and the passion and the drive of young people. And we can feel that here tonight. And I have no doubt in my mind that this room will continue to change our nation, because we are not going to let this Liberal government sacrifice our future.
Tell it on a mountain.
It's definitely 100% with no rival the best accent in Canada, that, isn't it? I would say.
Gotta love the
Absolutely top of the
Newfoundlanders,
list.
man. You gotta love the Newfoundlanders, and you know what? They speak from the heart. And I know I've worked with many Newfoundlander, and you know, if you give him a couple beers, you wouldn't understand a word he said. But
It just sounds like Irish to me. It's like, it's a very Irish sounding accent. Like, we're not going to be making no sacrifices for you, Mark Carney.
I think more youth need to speak up, because there's a lot of youth at one of Pierre Poilievre's rallies just recently too. The youth are the ones that are being asked to sacrifice so that the boomers here can watch CBC and get their brain boiled by the CBC on Mark Carney and the Liberal elitist policies.
Can you remember when Christy Freeland and Justin Trudeau had this big like relaunch in the last dying years of his time as Prime Minister? They were trying to salvage it, and they kept talking about generational unfairness. Do you remember that? I mean, it's like, that seems like decades ago now. It was only a couple of years ago. Where's all that language gone? There was all kinds of talk about, we know it's not fair. We know you can't get a house. But Carney's just dropped that. He's just completely jettisoned that, because probably they looked at the data from the election and they thought, young people aren't really voting for us. They're not going to. So let's just shore up the boomer vote. And Carney is like catnip to boomers. They just cannot get enough of him.
Well, I didn't put it in, but Holly Jones had a story that the population of Arab population in Canada now at 800,000. So the common theme for the Liberal policy, though, is we're going to see this later here. We're going to talk about it. Is this green carbon capture? That's what they're still living off of, right? But Poilievre says youth have sacrificed enough. So Poilievre really appeals to the young people. And I mean, that it used to be the other way around, right? The Liberals definitely had the favor of the young people, and it was the Conservatives that had the favor of the older people. That's kind of flipped on its head.
Well, it's also flipped on its head in that the left parties are supposed to be more inclined to change things, whereas the right parties usually status quo. But it's the other way around. The Liberals are the status quo party. Oh. I mean, that's obviously based on that flip that you've just mentioned, because older people, for obvious reasons, tend to prefer the status quo. I mean, and Carney is even trying to, even though he says nostalgia is not a strategy or something like that, doesn't he? But I mean, his whole shtick is nostalgia. I mean, his election campaign was nostalgia.
Elitist policies for the benefit of the few at the expense of the many. And the people paying most of the price recently are the young people. 24% unemployment in many areas of Canada now for youth. I mean, it's no wonder they're starting to get angry. It's no wonder. They lost the dream of owning a house, all kinds of things. Just they've been left behind. If anybody's been left behind, it's our youth, and that's our future, which is weird. And here's Mark Carney thinks opposition owes him support for his upcoming disastrous budget. I mean, they think, like this is now you got to rally the flag. If you don't support the budget, you're not Canadian. Let's listen to this here.
Well, I think this is the beauty of being a Mark Carney Liberal. It is saying one thing, doing another, and saying another thing altogether entirely. This is, I mean, you said the word evolution. I think this is a giant flip-flop, and it is a incredible middle finger to a lot of the NDP, left, socialist government workers, and there's commas between those categories, by the way, that put their trust behind the Prime Minister and are now getting some whiplash. So I think we'll see how this turns out. I don't suspect that the voters in Ottawa and Nepean will be particularly happy with the Prime Minister's position on this.
That's your old friend there, Sebastian.
Sebastian charming Vasi there. See Vasi's delight in that little banter, little comma banter.
Sebastian was our best friend.
He speaks very smoothly, though, doesn't he, old Sebastian? I'm sure we're going to see a lot of him on TV in the years to come.
Yeah, he was. He worked for Pierre Poilievre for a while there.
He worked for him by ignoring all my emails and phone calls when I wanted to interview Pierre Poilievre.
But he was really good for quite a while. I mean, I got phone calls from him when we were setting up interviews and all that stuff. But then he just ghosted us after that. I guess he's got bigger and brighter things that he's working on now. But this is what the young people are starting to see, though. This X account. Let me get this straight. People who have millions in assets, have their groceries and housing paid for, fly in private jets, get 6 months vacation. It's more than 6 months for this current government, right? How many days are they actually sitting? It's like 100 and what was it, the actual? I can't remember now off the top of my head, but it's not 6 months. They're getting more than 6 months. They have to sacrifice more.
Look, Diana Fox Carney there, looking a bit weird, as she always does. She's a bit weird. I'm sorry, Diana. I'm sure you're a very nice lady, but
you know, I like how
looks a bit off.
CBC and CTV right away when Trump's, on some kind of show, they get out the body language experts and talk about Trump's body language and that. But why don't they try this one on for size? Like, when the two of them walk off a plane, why don't they try? Let's show us CBC and CTV. You love to pull out these body language experts. Let's see it. And
they were shameless about that. Absolutely repulsive behavior when anything to do with Melania Trump and Donald Trump, weren't they? They were really awful.
Atrocious.
And it was entirely one-sided, wasn't it? Because you had loads of weird stuff where like Biden was like touching kids in a strange way and like sucking his wife's finger and stuff like that. It's like Biden, and not to mention falling over all the time and kind of like shuffling around like a kind of cheap robot. But yeah, only Trump was investigated by these body language experts.
But I mean, every time you watch these two, I mean, you would think that she might be his aide or something. I don't know. Not sure.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess they've been married a long time. Maybe their relationship has evolved. It's hard to say. But I do find that she doesn't really, she doesn't do a lot on the campaign or anything like that. She's not like, she doesn't really play a big role. So I'm not entirely sure why she's put to the forefront. I guess it's because of a sense that they need to, for the sake of the media, that he needs to be seen with his wife. But if that's the only reason, then they should just pack it in and let her live her life as normal in, London or wherever it is she lives, usually.
Shelley's telling us that 3 mills in Vanderhoof, Fort St. James, and Prince George announced layoffs. I mean, our forestry industry's been in demise for the last, under the NDP. I mean, I've done lots of interviews on it, and it's sad, and it's accelerated under the Trump thing. But you can't blame all this on Trump. David Eby and the Liberals have done this to our forest industry way before.
Well, Eby's now figured out that it's a crisis, hasn't he, in the last sort of 2 months? He's suddenly very concerned about it. But he does, as is often the case with Eby, even though it seems very opportunistic, he is making some very good points. Like, where is the federal emergency reaction? Like, where is Dom LeBlanc and Anita Anand and all the rest of it when it comes to this? Why aren't they flying to Vancouver, or Prince George for that matter, and having some kind of emergency meeting? Or, I mean, not that would achieve anything, but why aren't they applying that kind of, seriousness to it?
Shelley's one of our regular listeners, and she said that Carney, his wife, calls herself the First Lady of Canada. That's not usual in Canada, but I have noticed some things that Carney has tried to do, like signing executive orders, which don't exist in Canada. Like, he is definitely envious of what the president does, and he's copied a few things, like almost like a dime store kind of version of it.
He admitted that in the interview with The Economist. He admitted that was just silly show. He just said it's important to, like, because that was about the carbon tax, wasn't it? He said it was very important to visually communicate that this was a big deal, kind of thing.
Yeah. Anyway, our favorite politician of them all, and you love his accent there, our friend Francois-Philippe Champagne, pitching his budget and his finagling. Let's listen into our friend Francois-Philippe Champagne.
First and foremost, Canadians understand that this is not business as usual. We're not in business as usual anymore. This is like 1945. We need to chart a new course for this country.
What happened? Oh, that was it. Oh, there you go. Like
First and foremost, I love that.
I'm a CPA and I don't understand. I don't get it, Mr. Carney. I don't understand. So, or sorry, Mr. Champagne. I don't understand why we have to make sacrifices. Why don't we tap our energy and resources? Why we continue to send like $109 million to China? Why we're paying $8.8 million for a Canadian consul so he can live in a penthouse in Manhattan? Why? Why, when our military don't even have safe drinking water? Why? Help me understand.
But also, he's talking about, he's talking about the end of the Second World War and all these crises. Carney says that as well. But, we're basically at war. He said we were at war, didn't we, a few weeks ago? That got him in a bit of trouble. He's talking about, like, America has got us in a war. And that was, apparently that wasn't as bad as Doug Ford buying an ad that just had Ronald Reagan chatting away in a Reagan sort of fashion. But anyway, that went under the radar. But he's talking about this. He's talking about this great emergency, 1945. Like, we've got to get the soldiers back from Europe and we've got to give them houses and all. Like, we've got to build a whole civilization, really, completely renew our civilization.
All under the government, eh? All under the government. That's always worked out. It's always worked out in any country that's done this. It's worked out. Being in that it's Halloween, we should have used AI and put a little red bulbous nose on the end of
the hair. But no, what I was going to say was just what was it, yesterday, 2 days ago? He's announcing best part of $1 billion for feminism and LGBTQ research or something. So, I've been saying this ever since Carney became Prime Minister. I've been saying this, that what he says and what he does don't match. This idea that we're in a war-like scenario and where this is desperation time. This is like once more upon the breach. That doesn't tally with here's the best part of $1 billion for, I don't know, whatever it is you're going to do with this money. Research gender balanced rice in Vietnam or something like that. It just doesn't work. And I'm sure when we see the budget, that will confirm all the doubts will be confirmed, because there'll be a lot of largesse thrown at things that aren't, that don't look much like an emergency.
Well, I mean, we just talked about this story a while ago where they spent millions and millions of dollars on promoting women, and it generated no jobs. It was women's businesses. No jobs were resulted from all the millions that were spent, and they faked some success cases, and they're going to throw another $500 million at it in research. You know where that's going. Not to be outdone, Steve McKinnon would like to have something to say here.
Well, I want to thank my honorable friend who's also the transport critic, and I will tell him that next week, November 4th, there's going to be a budget that solves the problem that he and I want solved, the problem of Drivers Inc. The Minister of Finance announced today that measures are going to be taken to make sure we restore labor standards and fairness to the trucking industry in this country. That's going to be in the budget. Will this member, I'm asking him, walk down the aisle, tell the Grinchy leader of the opposition, vote for the budget, don't ruin Christmas, build Canada strong, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Okanagan, Lake West, South Kelowna.
I didn't expect the minister to ask me to walk down the aisle with him. Canadians made 2.2 million food bank visits last year, while seniors are sleeping in cars because rent has doubled. Yet this Liberal government sent $1 billion taxpayer dollars to buy boats from Beijing and handed out eye-popping bonuses at the Canadian Infrastructure Bank. Why is this Prime Minister using taxpayer dollars to reward insiders and offshoring Canadian jobs instead of helping Canadians afford the food and a roof over their heads?
McKinnon there dressing up as the Grinch, or I guess he wants the Grinch costume on Dan Albus there, our local MLA here, MP, sorry, MP.
Yeah, don't demote him again.
I just found that story here just so I get the facts right on here. So a federal subsidy program that gave away $130 million on the promise of promoting business, startups, and creating jobs achieved neither. And this is auditors examined the Women's Entrepreneurship Fund The program was launched in 2018 with a mandate of helping women-led businesses grow. The fund paid grants up to 100,000 small and medium businesses. And they actually faked some of the success stories. Nice, eh? Fewer than half of the subsidized business, 41%, said they used their grant to create jobs. Zero net job creation under the fund. There you go.
People in the on YouTube, they're talking about Dan Albers saying he actually replies to my emails, and somebody else said that. Yeah, I mean, that's you as a constituent. That's your experience. Also, as a journalist, I would add to the compliments of Dan Albers. In a politically neutral here, just talking about him as a person, he always responds to journalist requests, and he always has. You know, I've been doing this job quite a number of years now. He's always done it, and I'm used to this. When I was working in England, it was the same story. Some MPs are just really good at that sort of thing, and some are really not very good at all. And he is good, and he deserves credit for that.
When we ask Dan Albers for an interview, a video interview, it's usually that day. He will book in. Whether he's in Ottawa or whether he's in Kelowna, he will do it. I think it's now how long? I've reached out to our MP here now in Kelowna, Stephen Fuhr. I've reached out several times. Even I think one of my emails was actually begging. And then even Stephen McNall has reached out a few times. Nothing. Not a thing. Zero.
And I don't know if it's, like, I really mean it. I'm not trying to make it a party thing, political thing. I don't know if that's what it is. Or, I mean, obviously you could say if you were Stephen Fuhr in defense, like, come on, I've got a big job that I'm doing. Like, I'm basically a minister.
Right.
Working on defense procurement.
He's got the people to answer, doesn't he? He's got people that can send an answer.
But it's just some MPs. I just get this feeling like some MPs are just I don't know. It's almost like a philosophical approach. Some MPs really do see themselves as a representative of the people, and that they should hear from the people, take what the people say, and broadcast that in Ottawa, you know, to the powers that be. Some people kind of have that attitude. For other people, it's not quite like that. It's more of a normal job, or like I think it's just it's a philosophical approach ultimately, isn't it? And some people would also say about this, like, I'm not bothered. Like, Stephen Fuhr gets better results or something. They might say in the long run, when all's said and done. But definitely, like the initial intention of this system that we have, this representative democracy, parliamentary democracy, the idea is that your MP should be there to listen to you and to kind of address your concerns.
Well, the budget's going to drop in the next few days here. So let's play this clip here from Jason Jacques, from the PBO office there. And, you know, they've tried to discredit him quite a bit, but let's listen to what just to remind Canadians of what the budget looks like for the PBO. But what did the CBC do? They went and got a bunch of people to discredit this young man, CPA as well, and an MBA.
But also he's representative, apparently, isn't he, of one of Canada's great and infallible institutions, like Tiff Macklem. Not allowed to criticise him. No. Or the Governor General, or judges, and all, like loads of people that you just should never criticise, because those are Canada's institutions and they must remain strong. Except for this one, apparently.
No, well, yesterday we did the story of whistleblowers. What happened to whistleblowers?
Yeah, culture of fear.
They would have just said, this guy sounds like a whistleblower. Like he's not towing the line. Absolutely.
I'd be absolutely certain that'll be the story that they're telling, that he's like gone partisan and he's just a Tory kind of thing.
Anyway, Here, remember about a year ago, Chrystia Freeland and the Liberals were telling us that they were going to enact this grocery code of conduct. Remember, they were telling the grocers to freeze prices where they were, and I said that's absolutely stupid. Asking them to freeze them at high prices, you're actually asking to be a cartel. When they just got busted for being a bread cartel, which they're still paying out. I haven't seen the $25. Did you get your $25 yet from the bread cartel?
No, stuck in my application now.
Let's listen into this in committee here.
Beginning of your testimony, the higher input costs, you talked about transportation, fuel, all of those that are having an impact on the price of groceries. And we see by the most recent reports that food inflation is up another 4% in Canada. Food inflation is 50% higher in Canada than it is in the United States, rising at that rate. Is there anything in the grocery code of conduct that will lower food prices at the retailer store shelf?
The grocery code of conduct is not to lower prices. The purpose is to really establish a framework for transparency and fairness in the relationship between supplier and retailer. That way, that will help, we hope, smaller retailers and smaller suppliers. But the main purpose is not really to control costs.
Thanks. Mr. Henn, would you agree with that assessment from your colleague in terms of the grocery code of conduct and its impact on grocery prices at the grocery store shelf?
Yes, I would. Specifically, the grocery code does not regulate in any way the negotiation of costs between suppliers and retailers. So we don't expect it to have a positive or a negative impact on prices.
Thank you for that. I just find that interesting as, you know, about a year ago, right now, the then Minister of Finance was saying, or the Minister of Industry at that time was saying the salve for rising grocery prices in Canada was the grocery code of conduct, and that would solve all the problems. But clearly, that is not the case, and the impact the grocery code of conduct will have on grocery prices is misleading. But to Mr. Rivet again.
Whoops.
That was pretty cut and dry, like, wasn't it? There's no coming back from that.
Whoopsie. Another Liberal policy.
Yeah.
Here's another chart for you.
What do our friends think of this? Canada's premier news organization. Are they reporting on it? Let's have a look. No. No, they're not.
But they are reporting on the Blue Jays.
Blue Jays, yeah. What else we got? Nicolas Maduro. Need to know about that. Billie Eilish. Mark Zuckerberg.
There you go. Here's a chart for you. Here's a chart for you, and this is there are now 3.5 unemployed people for every job vacancy. That's the worst ratio since 2016. Look at that. And that's getting worse. How do they stand there and say the strongest economy in the G7? They continue just to say that, and CBC just allows them to speak. Why don't you just put some of these charts down and say, what's this? What's this? Look at this GDP chart. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Explain these to me.
Yeah, good times were had there in 22, 23 for a little bit.
Well, here you go. Here's remember they want to lump the because they got to meet the 5% targets for NATO. And they want to lump the Canadian Coast Guard into the military. The Coast Guard says has orders to avoid all military conflict through it's now under military supervision. If there's anything, we leave. And that's from the Deputy Commissioner. We wouldn't be involved in any sort of act of war. But they put them in the category so they could count them for money, but they're not interested in. And the union spoke out too. They said, we never signed up to be in the military. Again, this is more liberal kind of finagling. And Cabinet on September 2nd transferred control of the Coast Guard to the Defense Department from the Department of Fisheries. The Coast Guard doesn't even have the authority to hand out fishing fines. They have to actually get somebody from fisheries to do it. What is the Coast Guard doing? $2.4 billion annual budget for coastal patrols is included in calculations now for the NATO, But if there's any kind of conflict, the Coast Guard is just supposed to hightail it out of there.
They should change their name then, really, shouldn't they? They're not guarding anything. They should just call themselves, what, coast observers, perhaps?
And they have no guns on board.
But this just goes to show that if you're going to make these gestures and you're going to say these things, going to put the Coast Guard under the control of the Department of Defense and all the rest of it, you have to actually change how they operate. You've got to go in there and change their rules of engagement, change their constitution or whatever it is they have.
Do you think the American Coast Guard has no guns? Have you seen the American Coast Guard in action?
No, I haven't. I'm guessing if I know my Americans, I'm guessing they've got a few rocket launchers up their sleeves.
they got more than a couple of sidearms. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I bet. But then again, like, the Americans are a good laugh. I remember when I was in, I think it was Yellowstone, one of the big national parks, and one of the park rangers came up. You know, in Canada, the park rangers are like looking at flowers and things like that. They're like botanists or something. But this guy came up in America, had like a shotgun. He had guns in his car. It was like the car had like like the grill so that he could arrest somebody. It's like, yeah, that's America.
Now here's more on this. As far as security, would you envision having to intercept another vessel? That was asked by an MP. No, we will not. Our vessels are not designed for that. Do you envision having to board a foreign vessel? The Coast Guard does not board for purposes of enforcement. We do have RCMP on board for some of the vessels, as well as conservation and fisheries officers, and we provide platforms for them to go on board. Are you capable of boarding another vessel? We do not board other vessels. I appreciate that you're unarmed and they are civilian, but foreign nations such as China will not see that. For example, they regard American Coast Guard ships as valid surface combatants or targets. And the answer was, that's because the American Coast Guard ships are armed. The Canadian Coast Guard will not form any part of the Canadian Armed Forces, and I would respectfully submit that to classify Coast Guard ships as combatants is somewhat speculative. So there you go. They do not want to be included in the NATO calculations. But I mean, it's odd they're not even boarding. So what are they doing?
Well, they're supposed to rescue people, aren't they? Like lost at sea or something.
Isn't that search and rescue then? I don't know. And then here's this one. You're going to play this clip here. This is like wild. This is the Chief of Defense, Staff General Jenny Carrigan. Let's listen in.
Systemic racism, racial discrimination, and harassment are an affront to these values, and yet we allowed these injustices to occur and fester within our ranks. Therefore, on behalf of the Canadian Armed Forces, I offer my most sincere and deepest apologies. I apologize to every CAF member, veteran who experienced racism, discrimination, and harassment. And I acknowledge we failed you.
Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic, that, isn't it? To have somebody with that job standing up there in tears.
I think
you've like disqualified yourself, really, as far as I'm concerned.
What she should offer up instead of an apology is her resignation. If it was under her watch, then she's responsible. And if she failed, then resign. Absolutely resign. If you're an absolute failure, resign. Like this, there is no accountability in this Liberal government. None.
But also, if you're that fragile, you probably shouldn't be in charge of killers. People who are supposed to kill.
Sending people to
It's not like that. Yeah. You can't go into battle crying, can you? I mean, although then again, if you read your Homer, if you read the Iliad, there's a lot of weeping going on there. Maybe she wants to be Achilles.
This is if like I'm sure if the American military was watching this, it'd be just like, what are you? What's going on up there?
Well, they did have a bit of this kind of thing going on, didn't they? And then there was a massive reaction against it, and now they've changed their tune. But this is what I mean. Like, how many times now have I said this? Canada just seems to be living in the past. But nostalgia is not a strategy, Mark Carney says. So if it's not a strategy, why are we living in history? Why are we living in the past?
My question is, if you believe that this brought you to tears and this is that bad, why didn't you do anything about it? A, did you just find out today? And B, resign. And let somebody competent take over.
Look, she's talking about, to every member and veteran who's experienced racism, discrimination, and harassment, we failed you. Cue the waterworks. Cue the tears. Okay, that's one thing. Racism, discrimination, harassment, that's one thing. How about sending a young kid to go into war and getting his stomach blown open and dying on a battlefield? And his wife and children are then bereaved. His family will never see him again. Well, are you going to cry for that? That's worse, obviously. That happening is worse than racism. If it's just like name calling and things like that. How is it possible that this person is in charge, theoretically, of that happening, of these people going onto a battlefield and dying gruesome, horrible deaths in their like early 20s? How could she possibly deal with that happening without having an emotional breakdown? If the idea of discrimination and racism, like name calling and whatever else, if that makes her weep publicly, how could she oversee men and women dying in brutal fashion at a young age on a battlefield? It's a serious question. Does she have the emotional capacity to deal with this?
You know what I believe that a lot of the liberals, it's systemic, is the virtue signaling and the selfishness that they have for themselves, and they seem like, playing this there makes her seem like she's, somehow elevated, and they just play to this thing. And this is what we've done with the trade thing. See, we're sanctimonious. We believe that we deserve it to get trade. We deserve an auto sector. Compete, bloody well compete. And this is not.
Grow up as well. Like grow up.
What young man or woman right now watched this and said the Canadian military is for me? And
I can tell you, like I've known a lot of soldiers in my time, British soldiers, that is, and there is just no way that they would fight for that. Like, obviously, it's exactly as you would expect a soldier's attitude to that kind of thing. So I just wonder, like, who's the market? Who's the market for this? I don't think it's your average
CBC,
your average soldier.
CBC and the CTV, and then the panelists that can do it. And you say, "Oh my God, I can't believe she's kind." Like, go watch some clips for the American recruiting. They got 1 million people, and they're getting record enrollments now. I wonder why. It's their equipment, their tech, everything. Underfunded, undermanned, under-equipped, understaffed,
and ideologically compromised. It seems,
now under-led. I mean, this is not leadership. Resign.
Yeah, it's two reasons to resign. One is that you oversaw this apparent like racist system and failed, in your words, and then the other one is that you cried about it. You're supposed to be in charge of life and death. You can't cry over things like this.
Absolutely. And here's another, here's David McGuinty. Canada and Korea strengthening our partnership with the first Indo-Pacific Agreement. This is on McGuinty, right? Boosting readiness, expanding business ties, and creating. Do you think that the Indo-Pacific has watched that clip from our general here and then said, don't worry, Indo-Pacific, we'll be there? I'm not sure even what we would have there. But do you think they're just like, oh my God, let's thank you for the Canadians that are going to be there to help protect us?
Well, the Coast Guard have counted themselves out. That's probably like 80% of our active marine forces. They're gone. So I don't know, what are we going to send?
That's what I mean. Like, it's all just photo ops. Like, this is a photo op, if nothing else. Like, we have 4 submarines. I believe only 2 are active, and they were bought in like a 1998 garage sale from the UK, who were dumping old diesel subs. And then meanwhile,
but the reason is, I think this is like an entrepreneurial salesman type within the federal government has acquired the information. He's been given the brief by the diplomats, and the brief says the Koreans are freaking out because of China, and it's to do with the military, because they realize, obviously, that they can't compete with China militarily, and they've also got North Korea there, which is another menace. And that's there as like one of the major bullet points. So this person in the federal government said, okay, well, we'll offer them security then. Let's write loads of words about security and military cooperation. But that has absolutely no relationship to reality, does it? Because Canada, as we know, couldn't even defend itself. Never mind a country thousands of miles away over the world's largest ocean that's next door to 2 nuclear powers, one of which has an army of, what, several million, the People's Liberation Army. Like, you're having a laugh.
I mean, if Mark Carney had any guts, he would, if he watched that video, he would ask for her resignation. Because here's Brian on YouTube here saying, maybe we make the enemy break down and cry warfare, and maybe, like, you know, when Putin comes, we just start crying, and they're just like, okay, we're gonna leave you alone. Sorry.
Just say, like, look what you've done. Look what you did to our tank.
And then, meanwhile, in Australia, who just signed a deal with the Americans for nuclear subs, we're looking at diesel subs, kicking the tires. Mark Carney was out there kicking the tires. Listen to this.
Ghost Shark is a sovereign, extra-large autonomous underwater vehicle that will give Australia a real edge in the underwater battle space. I am confident in saying it is the most advanced autonomous underwater vehicle in the world, designed and made in Australia by Australians for Australia.
There you go. That's good.
That's what I was saying. We'd be better off with that rather than some clapped-out old-fashioned sub. I mean, surely. The future is going to be very much a kind of drone. It's going to be dominated by drones, isn't it? Military conflicts.
Well, I got good news.
All the experts say so.
I got good news for you. Evan Solomon's coming up later here, and he's going to make you feel so confident. Free speech.
Someone has mentioned the history that Canada has a history of being ruthless, other soldiers during the World Wars. That is absolutely true. From when you read history from a British perspective as well, which obviously I've done, the Canadian soldiers in both wars, like the primary sources show, that they received adulation from the British commanders. They were looked upon as you say, hard as nails. Shock troops, literally. Shock troops as in they broke the lines. They were first in, the hardest and best people you could have. And if you go to the museum in Ottawa, the military museum, it's like a tribute to those men. They were all men. And it makes it so sad. It really does. It makes it so depressing to see what's become of it. But yeah, it's got a glorious history, the Canadian military.
Free speech advocates yesterday urged Commons Public Safety Committee to rewrite this cybersecurity bill. The measure would allow the industry ministry to block any individual's internet access by secret order. I've interviewed John Carpe several times for the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. You can go watch those interviews. They say it is dangerous to civil liberties to allow the minister the power to cut off individual Canadians without proper due process and keep that secret. Consider, for example, a protester who the minister believes may engage in distributed denial of service attack, which is a common form of civil disobedience and employed by political activists. The minister could order the dissidents' internet and phone service to be cut off and require the decision remain secret. We've seen the actions of our friend Stephen Guilbeault when we've complained about Bill C-18. He said complaining about Bill C-18, the Online News Act, which is a form of censorship for news outlets, is immoral. This is the guy that's in charge of now to silence more Canadians.
And the other person that speaks like that is Mark Miller, and just to go back to our chat with Jonathan Kay, he mentioned both those MPs, didn't he? He said Mark Miller, Stephen Guilbeault, when he was talking about the sort of ridiculous performative types within the Liberal Party. But I mean, it's one thing for them to be ridiculous or whatever, but they're in power, you know, they have power. And when he says things like that, it means something. It's not just not like a tweet.
Well, the refining industry wants our heavy oil. According to this article, we're actually in shortage of heavy oil globally right now. You can see that in prices. And that's from Susan Bell of Rystad Energy. There's absolutely a business case for a second pipeline to Tidewater. Who's going to tell
There's
David?
Also a business case for keeping Nicolas Maduro in power then in that case. Make sure that that heavy oil doesn't go to market, because that would screw this plan.
Yeah, Canada's oil exports are primarily heavy oil from Alberta's oil sands compared to oil from more conventional light plays like the Permian Basin in the U.S. It sounds like the Asians, Southeast Asian market likes the heavy oil. What we're seeing now is a lot of refineries in the Asian market have been exposed long enough to Western Canadian Select and now comfortable with taking on regular shipments. But again, well, what are we going to get from Carney? No business case for oil, or it doesn't have enough carbon capture. What are we going to get? David Eby doesn't want tankers, although there's American tankers that go down the coastline. But you want to talk about a Halloween message? Here's a Halloween message from last year. You just got to bring it back, because guess who? He took Halloween messaging and turned it into climate change. Look at all the bracelets. He must have got those from the Taylor Swift concert, right? He's collecting. Look at. He's still wearing those from the Taylor Swift concert there back then.
They must smell pretty bad, Justin.
He got them from 13-year-old girls. Let's play this clip here from Justin.
Last week, it was 20 degrees on Halloween. Gone are the days where we used to have fights over wearing a winter coat and ruining a great costume. Our climate is changing, and we have to act. The good news is Canada's already turned the corner. Individual actions and investments we've made in green technology and clean energy means we're bringing emissions down. But there's still one industry that's polluting more, and that means it's the biggest opportunity to make a huge difference. The oil and gas sector is responsible for 1/3 of our emissions in Canada, so we're bringing in a cap on that pollution. Now, it's not a cap on production, it's not a cap on earnings. It's a cap and trade system that allows us to limit and reduce over time emissions from that sector. That sector is making record profits. And there's already technology that can capture the carbon emissions from the oil and gas production. And we want these companies to invest in that technology or invest in new technologies like it to bring down emissions. We know that everyone needs to do their part. And this cap is about making sure that the oil and gas sector does its part as well.
Did you see that little wink there at the end for the little children there? To make sure, they get one Halloween that's 20 degrees. Like if it's cold the next one, then it's like climate change, not climate warming, right? And they've been talking.
Completely shameless, though, and ruthless, you might even say, in the way that he and lots of other people just employ disinformation. That's pure disinformation contained within that video there, where he linked two things that aren't connected to each other. Yeah. He linked Canada's emissions to the global temperature. Again, for the millionth time in a row, I say this. There is no real causal link between those two things. Canada's too small to affect the global temperature. I cannot believe that people like him got away with it for so long, spreading that disinformation. It's atrocious.
But listen, the key thing that he was selling right at the end there is what Mark Carney has picked up on. Because guess who has come with the solution? Carbon capture. That's what he sold at the end there. Carbon capture. And Mark Carney's company, Brookfield, carbon capture. And then Tim Hodgson has stood at the podium a couple times now with these carbon capture companies that are coming to save us and have the ability to tax our energy resources. Private companies have the ability to tax our energy. And here's CTV News, right on cue, right? Because there's a lot of talk out there right now from many media outlets across the world. Climate religion is dying. But in Canada, the revival is on. Black vultures attack and kill cattle. Climate change is the reason. Must be, hey? Did they ask the black vultures? Hey, did they ask the vultures, why are you here?
I mean, I'm willing to believe that that's true. The climate is changing. Changing climates change animal behavior. But the issue for me isn't that just observing something about our planet. The issue is trying to say, this is happening, therefore, we have to put on this extra tax on Canadian industry, because then that's going to help this, as if those things are bloody related, which they aren't.
Anyway, we're waiting for that announcement. The G7 ministers looking to Canada for critical minerals despite China deal. Energy Minister Tim Hodgson has been put in charge of Canadian-led talks to create G7 Critical Minerals Alliance designed to secure vital materials whose production is currently monopolized by China. And that is the production. That's the thing, right? Like, I mean, it's not, the minerals themselves are not rare. It's the production of them, right? And that takes a big commitment to produce these. That's why China's kind of like owned that space. You've explained it many times. It's not the...
and it's why Canada will never do it. I
Yeah.
honestly don't think Canada would do this, even if China declared war on us. I don't think we would do it.
But
Because
what
that's
they're
how
going to now...
rigid. That's how rigid the status quo is in Canada. You just can't do things that increase pollution and are dirty and would require, you know, First Nations land and all the rest of it. It's just impossible because this country just doesn't work like that.
Let's
you can
just
even say it doesn't work.
Let's just guess what this announcement's going to be today. Oh, he's starting his press conference. He started it with a land acknowledgement, but I don't know, like, I guess we can see. But I'm going to guess that these announcements are going to be plans to announce mines in the future, like in some far-off place. Like, it takes 20 years to get a mine from conception to permit to operate. 20 years. Meanwhile,
Mr. Rod, oceans are rising, ice is melting. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but what can Canada do about that? That's the problem, chum. It's disinformation from the likes of Justin Trudeau and Stephen Guilbeault when they connect, fiddling with Canada's tax policy. They connect that to global temperatures. There is no meaningful relationship between those two things, and that is my only point. I'm not trying to deny. Mr. Rod, come on.
So
Behave
let's
yourself,
here's
Roddy.
Mr. Lightning Rod. Here's the climate Pope, right, himself. Let's listen to the climate Pope himself.
That the world isn't ending. He just discovered what your uncle at Thanksgiving has been saying for years, and it only cost us a few $1 trillion. In a recent memo, Bill Gates wrote that the doomsday view that cataclysmic climate change will decimate civilization is wrong, and that people will be able to live and thrive in most places on Earth for the foreseeable future. He also said this.
We have to frame it in terms of overall human welfare, not just everything should be solely for climate.
Bill Gates wrote a book called How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. Apparently, the sequel is, just kidding, we're fine. I'm sure the farmers who sold their land to Gates for climate reasons will be thrilled to hear the good news.
There you go. Comment, and subscribe. That's good. The climate Pope, basically, has spoken.
But Antonio Guterres, the head of the UN, he's also quite significant. He's an archbishop, let's say.
Oh, yeah.
In this religion. He is not in agreement with Bill Gates. There is a theological dispute unfolding now. And obviously the likes of the real sort of maniac foot soldiers like Greta Thunberg and people like that, and Just Stop Oil and all these strange groups and lots of Green parties, they are not, well, all the Green parties, they're not on the same page. But I think people who have a bit more experience with reality, people like Bill Gates, they're starting to see that it's just not working. It's not effective. I would probably include Mark Carney in that list. He is somebody that has more experience with the real world. And as a consequence now, he's at least sounding a bit more pragmatic about this kind of thing.
I mean, you know, like, not that I want to get into this, but, you know, like he's saying that the prairies have dried out. They also dried out in the dirty 30s, right? The Dust Bowl there time. I mean, that's what climate does. Right.
Also, you talk about forest fires. That's a very complicated subject that we've discussed many times.
Yeah.
Our forest fires in Canada are not related in any meaningful way to the emissions tally from industry and
more relation
driving
to
cars and things like that.
More relation to climate activists and arson than it is to that. Anyway, well, let's not get into a lightning rod. We got lots to get through yet here, and we're a little long in the tooth already. But here's from the Toronto Star. This is the thing with this government-funded corrupted media. Canadians need to see Donald Trump for who he really is. And then I just clipped a small paragraph out of this. Listen to this. The Trump administration aims to build a racist-fueled superstructure of state-powered repression and a one-party state. They're murdering fishermen who have sent out distress signals and sending troops to Venezuela, and their U.S. ambassador curses out a trade representative as if he is beneath him. They aren't our friends anymore. He forgot a few things in there. He forgot racist, misogynist.
No, he did say racist. Racist-fueled superstructure of state-powered repression.
Forgot homophobic. Or what are the other ones that you got to get in there?
Like, it's about time and space, isn't it? If he had the time and he had the space,
he would have put
they'd
more
all be
in there.
Yeah.
This
But
is
also, just look at this. Look at this dreadful language. It's like it's written like the kind of trash that goes through humanities departments in universities. The trash that I had to, read a lot of and cite in my essays when I was at university, which is a bit sickening. But I'm very familiar with this kind of language. Look how ridiculous it is. And also, just go back to that. The Trump administration aims to build a racist-fueled superstructure. That's an American spelling of fueled.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. You can't even spell patriotically, but you still want to have a go at America.
And then here's the other thing. At the end, any Canadian who doesn't blame Trump first and foremost is the equivalent of someone who blames the sitting government for wildfires and hurricanes. Well, I am blaming the current sitting government for wildfires, and there is proof of that in the mitigation. They didn't do anything about the Jasper situation. They did zero. That's been in hearings, in committee hearings. They did zero. They willfully left it there. The Nova Scotia fires that just happened this year, they tried to blame it on climate change. And what did the wildfire fighters say? Lack of mitigation. So yes, there you go. And at a certain point, embracing this administration acquires the whiff of disloyalty to one's country. Buzz off. Like literally buzz off. Like you need to accept our responsibility, and we need to compete. That's the thing. We think we're owed something. Like compete. Just clownish.
It's so foolish as well, isn't it? This is almost like asking for death. If we genuinely stop being and having terms at all with America, that would be economic death for this country. So, on the contrary, I think the argument of this chap is the unpatriotic one. This is the one that would damage Canada the most.
These are the same people that'll tell you if like Donald Trump is anti-democratic and Canada is a real democracy, but it's Canada that suppresses the media. And freedom of speech and freedom of the media is the most important things in a democracy. So, who's anti-democratic? Which Liberal MPs answer our emails? I don't know. Not very many.
But it's also the case that the patriotic move by a Canadian leader is to have good relationship with the United States. It's as simple as that. If you try and precipitate bad relations with the US, or you turn your back on the US as a leader of Canada, you do damage to Canada. That's fundamentally the point that I was making. And this person here, obviously, who will never have any power in his life, but still, what he argues would seriously damage Canada and Canadians.
Well, and he also he's just throwing to people that have like no common sense left to read that, and they think, that's it. And these are the same people that would go out and vilify people during the COVID thing too. Anyway, Evan Solomon, the world's leader in AI, apparently. He's telling us that Canada has the lead. Let's listen into what Evan Solomon says about AI.
I'm going to go a little Blue Jays on this, and people think that we're the underdog, but we're not. We got a pretty good lineup, and you just got to look at it. Let's
just play it though.
That's good, right? The godfathers of AI, Jeffrey Hinton, who works at the Vector Institute, which the government founded, one of our 3 great national institutes on AI, won the Nobel Prize, won the Turing Prize, which is kind of the Nobel Prize of.
So, because, and I interviewed Owen Evans here. He's speaking at the Hinton Lectures there in Toronto here in November. These people are academics. They didn't create anything in AI. They're academics. Like, Canada's not leading anything in AI. Nothing. OpenAI, where is that?
They sort of paved the way. But yeah, they haven't created companies, and that's what you can tax. You can't, if you want to look at it brutally like that, you can't tax much out of Jeffrey Hinton. I'm sure he's got a few $1 million lying around, but that's not going to fund an economy.
Or create jobs with it. OpenAI, where's that? U.S. NVIDIA, where's that? U.S. Tesla, where's that? U.S. Meta, U.S.
DeepSeek.
Google, U.S. Like, should we go on? Palantir, U.S. I'm waiting. Shopify.
Canada.
Not AI though.
Shopify. Yeah.
Shopify. But I mean, this is we got to remember like how he's actually again playing to that base too. With he brought the Blue Jays in. You know what I mean? Like everything is like kind of a game, right? Everything is a game. Everything is just like, oh, how do we get the Canadians on side? Oh, first we get them with just like the Blue Jays, right? Like, what does the Blue Jays have to do with AI? It's not serious, right? You're talking.
And as Diggsy points out here, I don't know if it is just one Canadian, but yeah, that's all. I don't know anything about baseball, but I've only seen one Canadian when I look through the team. They're all Americans. The Blue Jays, like, it's a team of Americans, isn't it? Which is kind of awkward.
And even if PayPal was starting in Canada, I don't think it was, but that doesn't matter. AI right now, the AI race has nothing to do with what happened in the past. The AI race right now has to do with what's happening right now. And Canada is not leading. The capital flees Canada, and the brain drain flees Canada. Elon Musk has Canadian roots, probably the leader in AI, in practical application of AI. Where is he? Not in Canada. Would he ever come to Canada? He's vilified here in Canada. He's probably the most consequential person on this planet right now, in AI and in companies. Leading companies and leading industries. And the Liberals have turned him into a Nazi. There you go, Evan. Oh, and let's remember, Evan worked for the CBC. Now he's on the CBC. And you notice the reporter in this thing, when he's talking, she's just nodding along. When Pierre Poilievre's there, she's looking to attack the whole time. Like she's in attack posture. You're going to do body language. Here's some more. Melanie Jolie. Like, we had all three fools on today. Melanie Jolie. She's there with the uniform national president and a solidarity rally at Brampton. But will they get rid of the EV mandate? No. Another company just said they're done with EVs too, is, Porsche. Porsche said, we made a mistake, going back to what we do best. GM is closing an EV plant in the US, going back to do what they do best. How many battery...
Check out Melanie, though. She's looking very glamorous and fresh-faced there, isn't she? That's one win.
Oh, that's for her, yeah, like good. Photo ops are all over the place. You put this one in, I'll let you lead this one. Our enemy now is Canada. This is from Harvard professor.
Well, Alan Dershowitz is...
Oh, you don't have it there. Oh, yeah. I think you got an image on top of it, though. He's going to try and
Anyway, Alan Dershowitz, very, very famous blog. He's not just a professor. He's, a very famous lawyer. Had all kinds of relationships with all kinds of senior American political figures. And he's obviously very pro-Israel. But he's come out now saying we have to understand who our enemies are, and our enemy now is Canada, which I just find terrifying, really, to hear that. This is a man of influence, and he's talking about how recognizing Palestine was a great mistake and all the rest of it. And then he's saying, if Netanyahu did go to Canada and was arrested, I would go up to Canada and defend him myself. And then he says he's in favor of Trump putting tariffs on Canada for its statements regarding Israel and Netanyahu, and even sanctions, perhaps. So just extraordinarily, this is like very aggressive language from somebody who, as I said, is quite an influential person. So bad. Sucks for Canada.
Let's go into our BC news here. We're a little bit late, a little long in the tooth on Happy Hallows Eve.
Coming to you live from the Now Media Newsroom.
We don't have much in BC here today, but I did interview Jeff Moyse there as well. Again, the interview is on our Now Media channel. He is the Aboriginal lawyer, 31 years with the government. I think he worked through, 6 governments of BC, and now practicing on his own. And he said, they take a step back. He believes that decision will be overturned, the Cowichan decision there for the Richmond lands, but it could be 5 to 7 years before we see that, though. So, and it could get messier before it gets better. It could get a lot messier before it gets better, which is not great. I mean,
we're already hearing about a loan, $100 million loan that a councillor says was, it was cancelled or whatever. They wouldn't hand it to them because of this, obviously, because if you don't have certainty about property rights, you're not going to give somebody a massive loan.
But just think about this: when you go in to get a loan for a property, what does the bank take from you? The title.
Well, yeah.
The title.
Yeah.
And then how do you give them a title when you clearly you're not even sure if you have title? Do you know what I mean? Like the bank, like when you have a mortgage on a property, the bank holds the title, not you. The bank holds the title. Once you pay off the loan, remember they used to do those mortgage burning things? You actually got your title back, right? So the bank holds the title until you give them the money. And what are you going to give them on this property that's now has the Cowichan First Nations named on your title? What are you going to give them?
Give them a statement from David Eby saying, "I'm sure this will be all right. John Rustad's blown it out of proportion." There you go. That's instead of title.
I did say that too when I was talking to Jeff. I said the government should come out and backstop it and say we guarantee these properties.
Yeah, that's the obvious. There's going to be a call for that, isn't there? Has to be. Yeah.
That?
I just wanted to read out a Mark Carney quote that something he said. I think it would have been today in East Asian time, perhaps. But this is Mark Carney when he's trying to sell Canada to Asia. He says, "Certainty is the greatest currency in commerce."
We have zero of it.
How does he feel? Well, I mean, yeah, you can talk about the EV pause, EV mandate pause, and other sorts of jokes like that. And I mean, there's no certainty whatsoever in Canada right now. But this, like in Carney's own words, by Carney's own metrics, this is an absolute disaster for not just Richmond, but British Columbia, isn't it? Because there is no certainty. So how can there be commerce?
That's what I mean. They say the things that you'd think make sense, but they're in complete contradiction to it. So it's just wild.
And they're so rarely questioned about it. It's so rarely put to them.
International news. We're going to go to our international news here.
Coming to you live from the Now Media Newsroom.
Well, King Charles took away the title from Prince Andrew and boots him out of the Royal Lodge. Let's listen to this clip here.
We're breaking into that story because we have some breaking news coming to us from Buckingham Palace. They have released a statement saying that His Majesty the King has today initiated a formal process to remove the style, titles and honours of Prince Andrew. Now, this, of course, comes after weeks and weeks of speculation and controversy about Prince Andrew. He relinquished most of his official titles just a week or so ago, but he has kept the title of Prince. We have a statement from Buckingham Palace that hopefully I can bring you in full. It says, His Majesty today initiated a formal process to remove the style, titles and honours of Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. His lease on Royal Lodge has to date provided him with legal protection to continue in residence. Formal notice has now been served to surrender the lease, and he will move to alternative private accommodation.
Good. Prince Andrew falling on hard times.
Well, a couple of points I'd make there. First is, this is quite interesting because he continues to deny any sort of dodgy involvement in the Epstein malarkey. He says he had he didn't do anything untoward. And he's also never been convicted, or there's he's not been done in a court. He's not been prosecuted in a court or anything like that. So that's apparently out the window. The presumption of innocence, which I find strange. That suggests that they know more. The royal family know more than maybe is on the, out there in public, which is a little bit disturbing. But then the other thing that I would say is there's another fellow walking around with the title of Prince Harry. And what on earth is he doing still having that title when he's disgraced the royal family and the institution of the monarchy?
Well, he's got a better YouTube channel, I guess, or.
I honestly think that you're not far off. I think they look at Harry and they think, oh, he's still popular in some places. He might actually be a benefit to us somehow.
Yeah.
Whereas Andrew
is a leper.
Is no benefit to anyone.
He's basically a leper, right? Off to the colonies with you. Off to the colonies with you. Here you go. Here's some Halloween. One of the better Halloween costumes is Trump and Melania there, the two Trumps, I guess, Trump and Trumpette, handing out candies at the White House there. And a little one showed up dressed as DJT and Melania. Look at this. I think we have a clip here. I guess don't play the music on this, but I mean, it's probably too late already. There you go. That's how you get into the White House. You dress up, eh?
That is weird. Is that supposed to be Barron or something there in front?
I would think that he needed to be taller than the two of them, though.
Yeah, he is taller than them now.
They should have switched that. It should have been mini Trump there. Anyway. And then for Halloween, this lady here is trying to play. She's got more emotion now when she's trying to hawk her book than she ever had, and she's actually speaks a little. Listen to this. This is just absolutely crazy. She's pretending to be the president, I think.
Are you fucking kidding me? This guy wants to create a ballroom for his rich friends while completely turning a blind eye to the fact that babies are going to starve when the SNAP benefits end in just hours from now? Come on. So I'm not going to be distracted by, oh, does the guy have a big fucking hammer? What about those babies?
Right.
Are you?
That's good.
I guess that's her telling the youth that she's cool now because she's dropping the old F-bombs.
Yeah, she's.
But really, when I look at that, I just think, she had a good morning in the hotel lobby then. They opened the bar early.
She cracks me up. She honestly does. She cracks me up.
Think about the babies.
She cracks me up. Everybody needs a good laugh. Anyway, because she hasn't done enough, but listen to this. She didn't know that she was going to lose. This is what she believes it was the closest election ever. Listen to this here.
In a state of shock.
Really? Mm. Did you think the day before that you were going to win the election?
I did.
Yeah. And so when did the proverbial penny drop?
When I got a call from my campaign manager that it looks like we need 200,000 more votes that we can't find. Meaning it's just the map, the numbers. And the thing I kept saying over and over again, I was in a state of shock. I was so inarticulate, but maybe very articulate. What I kept saying over and over again is, my God, my God, my God.
Really?
Over and over. I couldn't stop. I haven't felt that emotion, anything similar to the emotion I felt that day and for quite some time, other than the grief I felt when my mother died. I knew what was going to happen to our country. I knew the harm that was going to happen to people. And I knew it. I knew what was going to happen.
Painful.
I think she was trying to muster up some tears there. She was just like trying to come on.
But I would find it very interesting where she said, somebody came out and said, oh, we need to find 200,000 votes.
Were they filling them out?
Cast your mind back. Yeah, but cast your mind back. That verb, find, is the basis of the impeachment of Donald Trump.
Exactly.
Because he made that call saying, I need to find X number of votes.
Yeah.
So funny. And as somebody points out here, it's saying she said I was inarticulate. She did say inarticulate, but then the second time she said articulate. So she's been, as usual, she's been very inarticulate, which is kind of what she is, even when she's half sober, she appears to be that.
You know what? If she won the election, we would still be in this climate religion, and Mark Carney would be in his glory, because they would be pushing this carbon capture, and they would have nobody pushing against it. Because right now he's going to have a tough time with this carbon capture, because the Americans aren't doing it, the Indians aren't doing it, the Chinese aren't doing it, like most of Europe now. You know what I mean? Like, who's doing it still?
Brits for the next couple of years.
Yeah,
and Canada. And the Germans a little bit, I think, still.
Well, I mean, they just bought LNG from the Americans, right? And they're not buying green tanks anymore. Remember when they were going to buy green tanks? Green tanks.
It's funny, though. Just imagine she did become president, and what would Mark Carney be saying about things like Keystone XL and all pipelines, any sort of, industrial, all this infrastructure and industrial expansion? It would just be a completely different tone, wouldn't it, on all of that?
They bet big, and that's why they're the politicians of the past. Anita and Ann, when asked, like, Canada has what the world wants: wind. I mean that should be, if I was Mark Carney at that point, I'd say you need to pack your desk up and get out. Like, wind? How can you say something so absolutely ludicrous to the Canadian public? Like, wind. How is wind what people want from us? Everybody has wind, no? Don't they? I don't know.
But not everybody has wind turbines. That's it. That's the answer.
And the other thing is, wind generates electricity, and it's hard to ship electricity anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you ship it anywhere?
Batteries, I suppose. But
or do you say this wind?
We're the world leader in subsidizing batteries, battery projects.
Or do we say the wind originated here in Canada, so if the wind gets over there, you owe us money for that wind?
We're the godfathers of wind.
Evan Solomon's going to say that. It's absolutely lunacy. And then we always like to try to end with some good stuff. Look at this. Starship will build moon base Alpha. You know, this Starship can carry, like most of these Apollo missions were carrying, what was it, 3 astronauts max? I think it was 3, right?
Yeah, I think it was 3, yeah.
Starship will carry 100. If Kamala Harris becomes president, can I be one of the 100, please?
Sat next to Katy Perry.
No, Katy Perry. She's already been an astronaut. She's a retired astronaut.
Yeah, she's retired.
Oh, my. And then, just some more Elon Musk stuff. We're going to pass it. But here's your Halloween ender here. In Halloween in Australia, this is how you deal with when they come and bring you nonsense. This is what you should say when they're trying to pass this budget here. And this is in the hat there is Francois Philippe Champagne delivering the budget in the next video here, and delivering the budget. And here's the Canadian taxpayer reaction to the budget from Francois Philippe Champagne. I think we're going to get it here. Ready? Remember, Champagne's wearing the hat, and you're the taxpayer, and you're in the roux suit.
And the pumpkins, that's your money.
You got to play the sound with this, though. You got to play the sound. There's no sound. There was sound earlier. There you go. That's what we think of your budget.
Funny.
There you go.
Somebody is saying they're tired of phallic rockets. What other shape should they be? I think they're that shape to break out of the atmosphere.
Aerodynamics?
I don't know. Could make them cubes like the Borg cube.
Well, hey. I imagine what the rocket ship would look like if Evan Solomon and Kamala Harris designed a rocket ship.
That would be a cube, wouldn't it? Yeah, or a pyramid.
she's come out now a couple times now, and I used to like the CEO of Diary. I'm not sure why he had her on. She's flogging a book. She's going around flogging this book. Every second sentence that's in the book, she's trying to sell this book because she's her career is over. Anyway, you think we should play the clip there with Doug Ford calling up Americans or not?
Well, you love it, don't you? So go on. We've already had
Listen,
one F-bomb.
We fucked up. Yeah, listen.
There you go. That's good. It's Halloween. Somebody's got to do something. Like, somebody's got to do something. Like, and stop with the nonsense. Stop with the nonsense. Build a pipeline. Build a pipeline. Just say you're going to build a pipeline. That'll help the markets, because the Canadian dollar today does not look good with that negative GDP again. Or sorry, CPI, whatever. The negative, the numbers today, the GDP numbers. Not good. No.
Yeah, it's not. The economy's not looking hot, as Donald Trump keeps saying about America.
If again, the leading and lagging indicators, we'll leave you this on the weekend because it's our final show of the week. We're back every morning at 9 a.m. It's a little bit different than the CBC. They'll tell you they'll tell you some of the stuff like Trudeau says, like, the little kids, telling little kids that, about climate change. Why are you spooking little kids, you spooky guy? Spooky guy. Just go right off into the sunset with Katy Perry. Maybe they can both go up on a rocket ship. Anyway.
Launch off into the sunset on a rocket, on a phallic rocket.
It'll be interesting to see. Have we seen anything just before we leave? Has Tim Hodgson announced anything on this this critical minerals? He did an announcement. He was standing at the podium. Is there a press release that's come out on it yet? That what we got?
I don't see a press release, but I can see the press conference.
I see something here that 10 minutes ago he says we're fast-tracking support to Ukraine. I don't know what that has to do with our critical mineral.
Yeah, I can see him in the press conference. There is a Ukrainian flag, and Anita Ananda's there wearing blue and yellow. So I guess it does have something to do with Ukraine.
How does that fix our economy?
So in her remarks, Minister Anand announces that Canada is fast-tracking the remaining $10 million of its $70 million commitment to help Ukraine repair its power grid. And then it says in the little summary here, Minister Hodgson also makes an announcement related to critical minerals. So it's mostly about Ukraine by the looks of things.
Well, I mean, according to Mark Carney, when we started this, said he didn't want to front run, that there was going to be a massive announcement on critical minerals investment here in Canada. But where is it? But I do see strengthening long-term energy security by investing another $14 million to advance a clean, chemical-free method of producing battery-grade graphite in Quebec, in collaboration with Focus Graphite, Ukrainian industry, and American partners. 14 million. Trump standing there announcing trillions of dollars, and here we go with a $14 million announcement on some clean green. Might as well just put that in the garbage can with the rest of it. And I don't know. I was just trying to find it before I let you go here, but I guess, well, we'll find out. We'll have it for you on Monday, if nothing else. But I'm sure it's earth-shattering anyway. When will we get to the carbon capture? When can we get to it so that we can say no? No to the carbon capture and yes to an oil pipeline. Yes to jobs. Yes to an economy. You know, one more thing. I did an interview yesterday with a food bank here locally. And here's a good stat for you. Yes, yesterday, go read it. Since 2019, food bank usage doubled. In Canada. And many of them children. That's what we've done in Canada.
Yeah, surprisingly high proportion, like 20% or something, wasn't it, with kids? Bizarre.
You can go watch that interview. I did it with the food bank here. But hey, Well, happy Halloween. Drive safe tonight. Drive extra cautious. Drive extra slow. Watch for the little ones that are out there, especially as it gets dark. And don't drink and drive.
It's going to potentially rain as well. So really, really slow.
Don't drink and drive. Don't do it. All right? Until Monday. Cheers. Thanks for watching Now Media.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories.